Friends, at this time we are going to begin services, so we'll ask everyone to make your way to your seats. If anyone has a cell phone or any other noise-making device, we'll ask you to take a moment now, please, to turn it off or place it in the silent mode. And again, at this time, we are beginning services for Alvin Marks. Officiating our services today is Cantor Rabbi Dr. Rob Jury.
In the ancient day, we would need a visible sign of mourning for people to understand that our hearts are torn today. People around us in those ancient times would hurt themselves. The Torah says the depth of our grief does not require us to hurt ourselves in order to find relief. The Torah says finding support in community will bring us strength and comfort. So we rend our garments, we tear our clothes, so those in our community around us can see that our hearts are torn, and be able to come and offer comfort. Today, we dress much nicer than we did in the time of the Torah, so we're going to tear a ribbon affixed to your clothes. We mark this as a sacred moment, a holy time. We sanctify it with the blessing, Baruch Atah Adonai Dayan Amen. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, the judge of truth. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. And we'll now rend the garments. Oh, dear. Thank you. Shaviti Adonai lenegdi tamid ki mimini balemot lachen samach libi v'yagel kvodi av bisari yishkol lavetoch. I have set the eternal always before me. God is at my side, and I shall not be moved. Therefore my heart can exult, for my soul rejoices. My being is eternally secure. You will not abandon me forever to everlasting death. No, your faithful ones will not see eternal destruction. For you, O God, show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy, for enduring eternal happiness is your eternal gift. Death has stolen away our beloved Al. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation. In their tears, there is loneliness. And in their laughter, there's remembrance. Lost in sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends and family. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For it was Al's love that united us in life, in which death cannot sever. For his companionship shared along life's paths, which continue now through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of his heart and his mind, which brought us joy and happiness. These too are a precious remembrance. For all of these and more we give thanks to you, O God. In times of grief, we turn to our sacred scriptures, looking for that ever new message of God's nearness. I invite you to turn with me as we look, finding words of comfort in the 23rd Psalm. Within your leaflets, we offer it together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. As we continue to seek words of comfort, we hear the words of Kohelet, who called out, "For everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, time to seek and a time to lose, time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sew back up, a time for silence and a time to speak. And so speak we do like Job, who cried out, Adonai Natan, Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevoach. The Lord has given. Far too soon the Lord has taken away. We gather as an ancient people of faith to say, blessed be the name of God. Let us take a moment for silent prayer and personal reflection, lifting up some of our dearest memories of Al. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable unto you, our rock and our Redeemer. The poet wrote, in the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember him. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember him. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember him. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember him. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember him. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember him. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember him. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember him. So long as we live, he too shall live, for he is now a part of us as we remember him. In words of hesped, words of eulogy, words of remembrance, we will remember him. To share some of his memories of his brother, I invite up Jean.
I promise I'll keep it short. Many of you didn't know Al was my big brother. There was three of us. We were all 8.5 years apart each. I guess my father only had sex every 8.5 years, but he was always my big brother. I always looked up to him. Many years when we were small, we shared a bedroom together. We did a lot of stuff together. When he got onto the Skokie Fire and Rescue Squad, I had to follow him, so I got on. And then we got my dad on. And then years later, got onto the sheriff's office, and Al had to get on. So we all followed each other all the time. There's some very good memories. Things happen that most people wouldn't believe. Al was in a courtroom one day working, 26th in California. We weren't allowed to bring guns in the courtroom, of course, in case something happened. Of course, the Chicago police sergeant had his. We didn't know it was unloaded. And gets next to Al. Prisoner pulls the gun and points it at Al and starts firing. You would think he would have freaked out. He didn't. And believe it or not, it was the judge's first day ever on the bench. And the guy turned around and started pulling the trigger at the judge. Al tackled him. We got him down. Took a lot of us to get him down. And we saw the judge, and he goes, "How you doing?" It was not a good day for him. And a lot of different things. Probably a lot of you know the story. He was coming home from work one day in uniform. There was a state policeman fighting on the side of the road with a prisoner. Al stopped, tackled the guy, helped him out, and got an award for it. So he wasn't afraid to do any of those things. From his public safety things, from going into fires to helping people in the police department, was unbelievable. He was a great guy. We had a lot more things we were going to do together. We had some cruises, things in the past. We used to have dinners at my sister's house on the weekends, and it was great. And I'm going to miss all that. So it was very hard to see him like this. We thought it was going to be a simple procedure, and it just turned out terrible. His son Billy, Ian, his daughter, Brian, myself, we were there pretty much for him around the clock. We all thought it was going to be something simple, and it was a horrible cancer that spread so quick. We never thought this would be. And at least we were by his side when it ended. He loved everybody. I want to thank all of my friends, everybody's friends, for coming today, and family. We had a lot of family come in from out of town. We appreciate it, and thank you for being here. We'll always remember Al. May he rest in peace. He's with his mom, dad, and Alana now, and the puppy. All right, thank you.
Beautiful words, thank you. We now invite up Eden to share some memories of her dad.
I'm going to try to do this. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Your support means the world to us, and I know my dad would have felt so honored to see all the love in this room. I can't begin to find the words to express how much I loved my dad and how much I'm already missing him. I wish I can hear his voice again and be able to call him and complain about my day as I often did, and he would patiently pretend he was listening. I wish I can hug him again and have his scent of his cologne linger on my clothes for more than just one wash. My dad loved his cologne and wore a lot of it. His sudden passing has left me beyond heartbroken. I thought we would have more time together. I'm thankful for the time we did have, for the relationship we built over the years, that my dad had time, though not enough, to rekindle relationships with his family. He was not just my father, but over the years, he became my confidant and my friend. I will forever cherish the many memories we shared, and we'll all miss him. And I'll miss him every day the rest of my life. Dad, I hope you're up there with Alana, Nana Lola, Papa Joe, somewhere on a beach, drinking that chocolate peanut butter milkshake from Comet that you wanted so bad, and feeling all the love. I love you, and I will miss you, Dad. Thank you.
Beautiful. Now invite up Brian to share some memories of his dad.
I was trying to figure out what I was going to talk about last night. And there's just so many memories and stories. It's really hard to just pick just a couple. Our father, Alvin Marks, was larger than life, literally 6'4" and 3/4 of an inch. He always made sure to tell you that 3/4 of an inch. He was proud of that. He was a joker, prankster. He definitely liked to have fun. He loved to travel, explore new places, and meet new people. Back in the 70s, every weekend, we were on the move. We'd be checking into one new hotel or another, whether it was Lake Geneva, Springfield, wherever we had the time to go, and that weekend he had off. Within that first hour, we'd find another family that had kids our ages, and we all had brand new friends everywhere we went. There's one thing he always taught us was how to make friends, how to meet people, how to appreciate the people around us. He taught us to have fun no matter what was going on. We would spend hours just laughing and playing games, or spending an afternoon just rolling down a hill. It really didn't matter. Hockey, basketball, swimming, a lot of picnics. I used to love to go to work with my dad. He had a great work ethic. I don't even remember him missing one day of work ever. He loved to play cop, and I say playing because he had so much fun doing it. I'd get up early at the crack of dawn. We'd go down to 26th in California or 11th in State. Always stop for some donuts on the way because it was the cop thing to do. I'd sit in the witness stand next to the judge and just observe. I was always the only kid there, so got treated like a little king. When I finally started growing up and started driving, we didn't have that 3 strikes rule yet. So I really loved that he was a cop. I remember he went out and got Alana brand new, I think it was a 1981 Camaro, hot little yellow sports car. And I was always really surprised that she would let me drive that car constantly, even as a crazy teenager that I was. I got pulled over more often. And every time it was the same conversation. It was, "I'm sorry, officer, please don't write me a ticket. My dad's a cop. I'm going to get in so much trouble." And it always worked. I never got a ticket. I was surprised how many towns, I know those cops, they never knew who my dad was, but the minute I would say, "Yeah, Al Marks, he's a Cook County cop," they go, "I think I know your dad." And none of them ever did, but it always worked. My father's also a great salesman. He could sell you a blank piece of paper, make you think it was a Picasso. He was an entrepreneur with 1,000,001 ideas. A lot of great ideas over the years, some not so great, but he'd always try. And one day he met Alana and fell in love for the 3rd time in his life. But this is the one that would really stick. Each of them having 2 kids. We weren't exactly the Brady Bunch, but we were somewhere between the Brady Bunch and a motley crew. Well, we loved to have fun, you know. We'd go skiing a lot, and we were taught to just be kids. We were never told to be quiet or shut up. I mean, I can remember us taking over to ski lodges at the bottom of the hill, stealing all the hot cocoa and pushing everybody out of the way of the fireplace, and just being loud and having fun. Sorry, guys, I lost where I'm at. They had Dad and Alana had quite a relationship full of passion and good times. Like all couples, they had issues. But things that would drive other couples apart just made them stronger. They complemented each other in ways that the rest of us couldn't understand or comprehend. Another thing that Dad really loved was ice cream, and Alana shared his love. While they were on the hunt to try to find the best ice cream out there, which they were always on the hunt for, they found this gelato and quickly opened up a little ice cream store. It was cute and fun. Unfortunately, it was way ahead of the time for the amount of money that we had to charge to try to make it. Then came my little brother, Billy. Bill, now that you're older. You made Dad and your mom young again. They were both so ecstatic when you were born. They were giddy like little kids. It didn't take them long to find a way to make their biggest passion into a daily job. They went and bought the travel agency. This way they were able to work, travel, and be a parent at the same time. In the early 90s, I started a pager and cell phone company and immediately asked my dad to come on board as my partner. I remember that first day I was going in for a big meeting. I was going to meet with the president of Motorola for the first time, and I was talking to my dad about it before I went. He said, "You got to wear a tie." And I was jeans, t-shirts. He said, "You got to cut your hair." So I did not cut my hair, but I did put on a tie. Actually, I wound up wearing a suit and tie every day after that for, I don't know, the next 4 or 5 years. Although I did show him because I got to that meeting and the president of Motorola walked in and his hair was longer than mine. So we got along great and really helped us grow our business. We had a lot of fun doing it. That's the only reason I'm wearing a tie today is for your dad. And I'm going to take it off after this and probably never wear one again. Some of you here know that me and my dad didn't talk for over 20 years. I hate that I lost that time with him, but I'm glad that we made up and we had so many years together at the end. We made a lot of plans, like he did with you, Uncle Gene, and he did with all of us. Talked about him a lot, especially the last 6 months after Alana passed. I don't think in his whole life he ever lived alone. So those last 6 months really tore at him. We talked about going to Barcelona together next year, taking a bunch of road trips. I'm sorry we won't get to do those things, Dad. I'm going to miss you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. Bill, we now invite you to come forward and share some words about your dad.
Before I even say anything, Dad always told me he was 6'5". So that 3/4 of an inch turned into a phone.
I was growing a little. I thought he shrunk.
I want to express my deepest gratitude to all of you for joining us today to celebrate the life of my father. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Al's youngest son, Bill, or as my siblings call me, Billy. My dad was always my best friend. From a young age, I eagerly awaited his return from his trips. He was a salesman who traveled extensively and was away from home for long periods. But that didn't matter to me. I was always thrilled to see him again and eagerly waited for his suitcase to open, hoping to find treasures he had brought back. And he always did. After a while, he realized that it was more important to be home with his family and embarked on various entrepreneurial endeavors. I didn't miss the souvenirs from his trips because now I had my best friend. We shared so many traditions together, such as Indian guides, one I continue with my daughters, Cub Scouts, or my favorite with him was me and my dad's with the JCC. One thing was for sure, we always had a lot of fun. Much like my mom, my dad shared a deep love for travel. I was fortunate to share that passion with him. And he took me on all of their trips, or at least the one where he could find a kids program for a break from me. a win-win situation for all of us. We had so many hilarious moments, like the time Dad rented a car in England and nearly killed us while driving on the wrong side of the road. At least it was amusing later. There was also a time we rode horses, and Dad was given a Belgian draft horse because of his stature. The draft horse then tried to lay down with him sitting in the saddle. He had a camcorder in his hand, and all I remember is we went back to watch the video, and he goes, "There's Alana, there's Billy, whoa, whoa." The rest was history. One time we were driving through the mountains, and I kept telling him I felt sick. He stopped and got out, and I tie-dyed his brand new white Reeboks. Again, this was the thing that was funny after the fact. They never let me forget about that either. More than anything, my dad loved my mom. I never imagined I would lose them so soon, especially so close together. In the end, I believe they wanted to be together. I miss them every day, and I will carry my dad's memory with me in everything I do.
Beautiful. Thank you. Beautiful. Today we mourn the loss and celebrate the life of a father, a papa, a brother, a friend, the life of Al. Al was born in Chicago. He grew up in West Rogers Park. He was graduated from the fabled Senn High School and had more than a few stories about his childhood and growing up in the old neighborhood. His father was an entrepreneur with millions of business ideas. Al went to school with Harold Ramis, enjoyed saying, "I knew our class clown, even them." His time at Senn was fantastic. He was a regular participant in their reunions where he would reminisce about being a drummer in the marching band and all the fun that they had. After school, he found civil defense. He won awards for saving lives, pulling someone from the fire. He was a volunteer firefighter and police officer, civil defense, which, of course, Gene, you said, hey, if Big Brother's doing this, I got to do the same. A testament to a sibling relationship. In 1976, Al ran for state representative. He was mentored by the fabled Abner Mikva. Al even appeared on stage with Jimmy Carter during the campaign. He didn't quite make it all the way there, but he had a great run for it. He followed his father's footsteps, though, and became an entrepreneur. He traveled around the country selling custom vans. He worked as at a furniture store. He was involved with Weiss Tires. He had the Al Marks Service Center. He took a job at Little Fuse. He went to Superior Wheels. With the Al Marks Service Center, he even found ways to incorporate the tires and the wheels all together. There was the holiday cop in cop court, joining the Cook County Sheriff's Department, finally saying, you got to learn from your little brother and follow him too. He had joined you in that pager and cell phone business, and Brian, I didn't realize my first pager came from you and your dad, which was great. There was a delightful deal from the pager shop that happened on the steps of his house. I grew up not far from Al and Alana, growing up with Bill. I remember visiting you in that home, and Al, in the constant entrepreneurial way, said, do you have a pager? Al, I'm 14, what do I need a pager for? But I don't know, my parents are gonna say, we can make you a deal, we can make you a deal. I left that night having signed up my first contract and came home with a pager, it was great. He worked in direct mail, he had the Scoop Coop business, he was an entrepreneur in every sense of the word. Al was also more than just a businessman. He met the love of his life, his love, Alana, and they spent a lifetime together. They were set up on a blind date that neither of them really wanted to go on. A realtor selling a house in Niles had invited Al to the open house. They had become friends, and this realtor said, you know, you should find a nice little lady. We can set you up with one of my wife's dear friends. It'll be perfect. We can double date. It'll all work out well. Al said, absolutely not. He wanted nothing to do with it. So one day, his friend took a piece of paper and wrote a number on it and said, Al, come here, and stuck it in his hand and said, if you don't call her though, my wife's gonna be furious with me. Al, always a mensch, trying to keep his friend from being in hot water, called up Alana, and they agreed to meet for a date neither of them wanted. Al showed up at the house. He went to the back door by mistake. The front door was on the side of the house. It was, oh, okay, why not? Alana comes and opens the door, and Al was immediately struck by the proverbial brick in the head, seeing this gorgeous and intelligent woman at the door, who, having also not wanted to go on this date, had not readied for this at all. She didn't do her hair. She was wearing just stuff around the house. Taking one look at Al, she said, oh, please hold. And it took a minute to ready herself for the date. They went out on this beautiful date to the disco bar, some other place, on what turned out to be nickel night. Not the way to impress a date to say, I brought you on discount night and I've got a coupon. They realized they needed to do a little bit more. They spent the night talking, and at some point, Al asked Alana if she wanted to actually go out for a dinner and not for nickel night with a coupon. And he took her to her friend Eddie Siegelman's Deli in the Old Orchard Century Theater Mall. Eddie loved singing opera and sang to Alana all night and said to Al as they were leaving, hold on to this one. It was a Wednesday, February 3rd, when Al dropped Alana off and leaving. He asked if he could call her soon, and when she said yes, asked if 20 minutes from now was too soon. Of course, when he got home, 20 minutes from now was too soon. He fell asleep. The next morning, Al called his mother and said he had met the woman he was going to marry. It turned out the next morning, Alana had gone into work and told her friends the very same thing. She met the man she was going to marry. The rest, as they say, was history. Alana and Al married on August of 1977. Al was always a fun guy, 6'5", 6'4", 3/4. Well, we'll go with whatever Guinness said. He was fun and loved to have fun. He was a jokester, playing and teasing. He enjoyed playing cards, whether it was with the guys or with the folks anywhere around. He loved music, and Bill taught you to have some actual great taste in music. Brian remembers that growing up, they grew up near the Mill Run Concert Center, and that meant there were lots of concerts. Music had filled their life. Three Dog Night, Motown, Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, some of his favorites. He took the kids on trips and museums and to the zoo. He loved to travel. Those early days of cross-country trips, adventures near and far, anywhere you met a friend, because Al was a people person. And then, of course, later in life, when Bill came along, he took him on much fancier trips. So there were the close trips and the far trips. But they loved the life they built together. Al and Alana loved to dance. They disco danced, and Eden remembers them practicing the bus stop in the basement just to get the moves right. Al lived a life of service. He always gave back. He, in Yiddish, is what we would say was a true mensch. He served on the council of our congregation. He served as the council chair in that council. He helped plan fundraisers with the congregation for the last decade and a half. In fact, recently, when he went in for the first of the surgeries, which meant he was going to miss the fundraiser for the first time in his involvement in the congregation, we were praying, and I said, Al, people want to know, what can we do to support? Should we get food ready to send home, send food to the kids? And he said, I'm just worried about the fundraiser. Tell anyone who wants to help and support me to go to the fundraiser and support us here, because that's where I would be if I wasn't stuck in this, and now put in an expletive, hospital. That was Al, even going to surgery, worried about others. He was a regular at our Shabbat service, Friday nights. He was a regular with Alana for most of their time in the congregation, and a regular after Alana died, showing up, Crystal, so many weeks with you by his side. You became a new Shabbat buddy with Papa, showing up there. You saw his usual spot. You convinced him that he could come and sit with you in the sanctuary, that for the first Al was our service officer, and so he would stand by the door protecting us and would then send you to go sit in the Shabbat service while he stood vigil by the door. And you were able to convince him to come and join you back in the sanctuary. We know his reticence to come back into the sanctuary was both out of a desire to protect the congregation, but also of how hard it was to go to his usual spot without his beloved Alana. And you said, Papa, we can do it. And he sat with you in that sanctuary week after week, coming to his home. And you really supported him in that way. We were blessed that we had our security officer come and sub for him and to take him up, and the opportunity to be in community. That was Al, in his place, in his spiritual home, connected with his people. He was a mensch. I was sharing with the family that some of my first memories of Al was when I was 10 years old. And just remembering that really big guy. My dad was a big guy. Your dad was like a really big guy. And the fun it was to hold those memories all these years and to build an adult relationship with him in our congregation. A very special man in our community. He loved people. He loved traveling. Those epic cruises, he would send you, Bill, to go and have fun times with the kids. But then when it came for dinner, they'd dress you each in matching tuxes and bow ties. You went on at least 15 cruises with them, and they, Alana and Al, your parents, went on so many cruises, 30, 40, that was their favorite thing to do, was to go on cruise and see the world together, spend their time at Marriott Harbor Beach in Fort Lauderdale, that family tradition, to be able to go to places that held a close place in their heart. They honeymooned in Hawaii, all the adventures they had. I liked, though, the adventures of being a foodie. And Eden, you remember that once you and the girls were visiting in Florida and your dad had nodded off, and Jackie, not missing a beat, went over to a nodded off sleeping Al and just held a potato chip just right under, and the mouth went right open to take the potato chip. He was a foodie for sure. It took you maybe half your life before you realized not everyone made a grilled cheese and put jelly on it. This was a gourmet piece for him. Bill remembers eating your way through Europe on these travels. And of course, close to home, his favorite were the Greek ribs, which I hear must be a kosher version, but the Greek ribs. Later in life, he was also a great cook. In the congregation, we would do progressive dinners, and we would go to your parents' home, and he would make the salmon, his famous salmon, and everyone would enjoy. A chocoholic, he loved a good chocolate malt, that peanut butter chocolate comet that he's been waiting for in the milkshakes, the jelly beans, the good and plenty, a licorice whenever there was one around. He also was never without his beloved puppies. From Gracie to his most favorite, little Yoda, he was proud to be connected to those little puppies and carried them everywhere. He made a life that he was proud of for his grandkids, for his kids, for his stepkids, for this beautiful life that was there. He was proud of everything each of you did in this world. His favorite pastime was to kafel about you and to share stories about his family. We know that if love were enough, things would be different today. Al and Alana would be with us right in this moment if love were enough. Their love throughout the ages continues to inspire. In our very broken world, this year love was not yet enough. Al now joins his beloved of 47 years, his beloved Alana, along with his grandson Philly, in the heavenly bonds of everlasting life. Here in this world, he leaves behind a legacy of love. He leaves behind a legacy of love to his loving children, to Brian, to Eden, to Bill and his loving wife Stephanie, to his stepsons, to Eric, and to David, to Eric and his loving wife Marnie, to David. Papa leaves behind a legacy of love to his grandchildren, of whom he was so proud of, whom he wanted to brag about at any moment. To Haley, to Olivia, to Anna, to Alexandra, to Samantha, to Jasmine, to Crystal, to Xander, to Jessica, to Jackie. He leaves behind a legacy of love to his siblings, to Felice and to Jean, who shared a bond only siblings can truly know. Al leaves behind a legacy of love to all of his friends and his family, his friends from the synagogue. In his last moments, he was telling me who was going to come and visit, and that Razu had been there with him, and that all these friends from the synagogue were coming, and how meaningful it was to have been surrounded by his family all of these days. He will be dearly missed by many of his extended family and friends. In the words of Rabbi Milton Steinberg, we say, grief and love go hand in hand. May the pain that a loss inflicts be the measure of a love that is stronger than death. May we learn to hold on with open arms to the love he has for us, the love we will always have for him. And together, may his memory be a blessing. We say, Amen. In this moment, we come to the El Malei Rachamim, where we usher Al's soul into heaven. If you're able to rise in your hearts or in your seats, I invite you to do so as we offer that prayer. רחמים, שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה תחת כנפי השכינה, עם קדושים, ג'ורים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים, את נשמת אברהם ניסון בן יוסף הכהן, שלח לעולמו מלא רחמים, יסירך בצדק כנפיו לעולמים, ויצרור רחם את נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן. Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in the sheltering presence to Avram Nisam ben Yosef HaKohen, our beloved Al, who has entered into eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings. Let his soul be bound up in the bonds of everlasting life, for God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated.
Friends, this concludes our services here at the chapel. The interment will take place at Willow Lawn Cemetery in Vernon Hills. Upon return from the cemetery today, the family will be together at the Marks residence, which is 38 St. John Drive in Hawthorne Woods. Again, that's today following the interment until 8 p.m. and Friday from 11 p.m. to 7 p.m. That information is available inside the folders that you received as you arrived today. If you did not receive one, they will be made available as you depart. And for those joining us via the live stream, it's also available on our website. For those of you going with us in procession to the cemetery, we'll ask you to please keep a few safety measures in mind. Please make sure that you have your bright headlights and your hazard lights on at all times in the procession. Please make sure that you're following the car in front of you as closely as safety permits, especially as we make our way through intersections, which at times may have red lights, as the procession has the right of way. And please make sure to obtain an orange funeral safety sticker to place on the passenger side of your front windshield. Our attendants in the parking lot will also have flags for your vehicles as well. The grandchildren have been asked to act as pallbearers today, as well as honorary pallbearer Adam Levy. At this time, we'll ask everyone to please rise, and pallbearers will ask you to come forward as we escort the family and the casket and clergy from the chapel.